I really love just the education of understanding what psychic is and what it's not, because I think a lot of people think they don't have these gifts because of the language, because of media, because of things that we're kind of programmed to think. We're all doing it in our own way, trying to share with people that the answers are not outside of us. And we are the ones that truly know our soul's intention, our soul's blueprint is within us at any moment. It's some combination of those things, really deeply helping people understand that, no, this is the most natural part of you and you're already doing it. You could do it more, but you're already doing it. And just kind of the education around the stigma, what it is and what it's not.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Psychic Within. As you know, I've been interviewing amazing people in the psychic industry in order for them to be able to share who they are, how they got started, maybe some struggles that they went through, so that it's more relatable to you and so that you can see as you open and access your psychic abilities, you absolutely have the potential to do really big things and really amazing things in the world. And today I'm really excited for my special guest. I just was on her podcast doing an interview. So we recently connected and it's definitely such like a kindred connection. So I want to introduce to you guys Joy Giovanni. She is an evidential psychic medium, healer, and spiritual teacher. She is internationally known for her time as a WWE Diva, model, and actress. Now as a published author, public speaker, and evidential medium, Joy is using her gifts to change people's lives and impact people all over the world. So welcome, Joy. How are you?
Thank you. I am doing well, and it's so good to get to chat with you again.
Yeah, this is so great. I have so many questions. When I read your bio and I was like, wait a second, it says WWE Diva. I feel like that's wrestling. Is that wrestling?
That is the wrestling company. You are correct.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. So before we dive into that, because I have so many questions, I want you in your words to tell everybody who you are and what you do and what makes what you do so special.
Well, my name's Joy Giovanni. Like you said, I go by Joyful Medium. Really, what I do is help people get clear messages and guidance from either loved ones that have already crossed over or from their own souls about their own lives, which, as we know, and probably your listeners on your pod know, that that's what psychic means, is information about our own lives to help them make decisions and live their truest and most authentic life for themselves. Sometimes, as you know, that means coaching. Sometimes it means working on healing our past fears or speed bumps, so to speak, so that we can become more fully ourselves. Sometimes it means hearing from the spirit world or hearing from our own souls. But a lot of times it's just more clearly understanding ourselves, what's holding us back, learning to maneuver through our own gifts. And my intention is that anyone that I come in contact with feels like they can just be a little bit more of themselves in the world. That's really my mission.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I love that. And I think it's so important. I think more and more people are needing that. They're looking for that. There's like this bubbling up inside of them of something saying, I really need to know who I am, what I'm here to do, and I need that. So can you tell us, I don't know that everybody actually knows, you use the title Evidential Medium. Can you tell us a little bit about why you use that title, and is it different or how is it different from somebody who maybe just calls himself a psychic medium?
That's a great question. So most of us avoided the word psychic for many, many years just because it has such a weird connotation in our culture. We have these images of like Madame Cleo with the crystal ball and the 900 number or whatever. So for many years, I resisted that word. And then when I started kind of coming out of the spiritual closet, so to speak, I was like, how are people searching for this work? So sometimes I do call myself a psychic medium just because that's how people are searching on the big search engines for it. But evidential really just means that my intention when I'm working with someone's loved ones on the other side or with their own soul about their own lives is to have specific details and specific information. So for example, if I'm communicating with someone's mom on the other side in spirit, they know, oh, without a doubt, that's my mom. That's her personality. That's memories from her life. That's exactly, often it's like, that's exactly what she would say or how she would give that bit of detail. So for me, it proves, quote unquote, because evidential is essentially our aim is to prove that our loved ones continue on just in another way. But the thing that's underneath that most people don't realize is if your loved one, if I can blend my soul's energy with their soul's energy and become aware of specific details that they want to share, not only does it prove that they still exist, that they have all of their memories, they know who you are, they know who they are, they know what time your appointment was. So it really just kind of lifts that burden off people's hearts of like, where are they and are they okay? And what's going on with them? It's like, oh no, they know, they want to reminisce about this. They want to let you know that they still have their same personality. And they also want to talk about, I don't know, that closet that you just cleaned out and you found that item of theirs, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think it's so important for two reasons. For one, as you know, I went through a devastating loss and
Yeah.
having that proof, and I had proof in other ways, but it was
Yeah.
so nice to have a medium even give that proof. And people oftentimes need that to
Right.
feel that closeness again, to feel that connection and to work through grief. But second, as a psychic, I see a lot of people just giving generalized information. And
Right.
it's one of my things that's like nails on a chalkboard for me because anybody could say that. It's stuff that, is everyone's talking about that generalized information. But when we can really give very specific details, people
Yeah.
know it's for them. And we also know it's for them. We know we're tapped into the
Yes.
right stream of energy that they need to hear. So it just I feel like it's just more validating, but also it helps
Right.
people to move forward faster because it's
Yeah.
specifically tailored to them.
And the truth is, anyone that is, so the way I see this work, psychic work, mediumship, I believe that we all have spiritual gifts. I know you believe this as well. It's one of the things that we really connect on because everyone has this additional group of senses we call the sixth sense. The way my guides showed it to me and explained it to me early on is kind of like playing baseball in your backyard. Everyone can play, on 4th of July in the backyard with their family to some degree. Not everyone wants to become Daryl Strawberry. Not everyone wants to
Right.
become a big famous baseball player, for example. And that takes a lot of practice and honing your craft. But everyone has the ability to get intuition about something. Everyone has the ability to sense, oh, what's the vibe under this conversation that's happening in this board meeting, for example? And how amazing is it that we have this ability to tell people, like, hey, those sensations that you're feeling, those little bit of bubbles of information that you're receiving, there's validity there and you can learn to work with that even more. So sometimes once we can settle the person about that big decision they're making or that their person that they're so worried about is okay, then we have a little more space in our energy to just start to tiptoe forward and consider, okay, what else might be available to me?
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. I love that. I love that. So, speaking of speaking to your guides and starting on
Yeah.
this journey, I really want to know, I want to know how you got started on this journey and how you went from being an actress and
Yeah.
being in WWE Diva all the way to being, having multiple published books and, doing evidential mediumship all over the world. So, give us a little, yeah, and I want to know about the WWE Diva.
I love to ask this question of people too, because I think there's so much power in understanding that we don't all have this linear journey to this work. For some of us, for me, it's very much like this circle that keeps getting closer and closer to the point I'm trying to get to. Kind of there I was on top of the world, so to speak, in front of international audiences. My role with WWE, essentially, they were in a time in their show where they were wanting to bring in actresses with experience and the goal was to make the storylines more believable was what they
Mhm.
said.
Yeah.
So I was part of the main event program every week. I was the catalyst for the main event fight. So I was getting kidnapped, I was getting bullied, all these crazy things were happening, and it looked like my life was soaring. This would be any actress's dream, right? To have all of this exposure, be in other countries and on TV every week. But what people didn't understand is that my life personally was actually imploding. I was a mom of two very young kids at the time, which was kind of a big secret. Back then, in those days, you couldn't get hired if you had kids for those types of roles often. I had a marriage that was imploding. I was supporting additional family. And then at the culmination point, I lost my contract. They decided to cancel 50 of our contracts all at once.
Oh.
And not long after, my marriage imploded. I lost my home and it sent me on this journey to find out like, what do I really want to do? Because I felt like I had sacrificed all of my more traditional acting career for this opportunity. And now here I was pounding the pavement again for auditions with, at that time, by then, I think they were 3 and 5. So I'm like, okay,
Wow.
how is this going to work?
Yeah.
And really, serendipitously, like these things often roll out piece by piece, I was being breadcrumbed back to my truest self. I read every self help book and really tried to immerse myself. I tried therapy, I tried journaling, and all of it helped a little, but it wasn't like what I was really looking for.
Mhm.
I already had a practice as a holistic health practitioner and massage therapist for athletes before acting. So that's kind of how I came in, was on the fitness train. And I returned to that. I was recertifying because I had moved to LA. So the licensure is different. So I was taking some classes and I was so interested in Reiki, which is a Japanese system of energy healing. And I wanted to learn about it, but I was still in that place where I was like, is this a cult? Is this a religion?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what this is. And I even had met Reiki masters that wouldn't teach me. And I was like, what is happening? I tried to attune myself. And I was so persistent. And during that time, I also moved from LA to San Diego and started an ice cream truck business with a friend, which I know sounds ridiculous, but I'm quite entrepreneurial like you.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't sound too ridiculous to me, you know.
well, I had an idea and we both needed something new to do. So as I'm driving this ice cream truck, I met so serendipitously this woman on someone else's driveway where she didn't even live, a Reiki master. And I was like, oh my gosh, will you teach me? And she said, if you get this book and come back and find me, I'll teach you. I had that book, girl, the next day.
Oh
So
my gosh. It was almost like a Yoda master. You know what I mean?
yes,
Like, go
she
find a book,
totally
come and find me.
was.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
so kismet. And then for the next couple years, I privately mentored under her. She was the first person to tell me I was psychic. And I was like, oh, you're crazy because that's not real.
Right.
And, but once I understood, oh, being psychic is not about these huge epiphanies in the movies, like where time freezes and we see the whole future. It's not quite like that in the day to day for me. And once I understood, oh, it's knowing unspoken things, I was like, oh, I'm already doing that. And I really just started to be able to piece it together more and more and more. And it was through Reiki that I started doing something called trance mediumship, which for those that have heard of Abraham Hicks, that's what she does. And the very last was communicating with loved ones in the spirit world, which just kind of started happening as
Mhm.
I was doing healing sessions. I already had a healing practice. So I was working with clients. I'd open up for information like from their guides. And I kind of feel the guides just slightly above my head in spatial relation. And I started feeling people standing next to me from the side. And I was like, hold on, like, do I have this gift? Do I want this gift? Like, what do I even do with it? And so from there, I sought mentors and trained, and
That's
it's been a
amazing.
journey ever since.
Yeah, it's such an aligned journey, meaning like the universe definitely led you from place to place to place to place to place to get to where you are. I absolutely love that. And I love the
Really?
fact that you trusted it. That
Well,
you or maybe
in
not.
baby steps, I trusted it. I'll
Right.
say it that way.
Yeah, because there are people who do get signs who feel like they get stuck,
Yeah.
and we all get stuck momentarily. We all get stuck for
Yes.
a week, a month, sometimes a year for some people, but you continue to move along that journey as things were brought to you. And I think that's really cool. What do you think was the hardest part of your journey?
Oof. I think the hardest part was being a mom alongside. I also, as part of that divorce, it was really messy and I was in and out of court for literally 14 years. That was the hardest part. So, as we know, working these spiritual gifts, it really is, for me anyway, the most vulnerable part of myself that I'm exposing, the truest part, especially when we're learning and new and trying to tip out into the world. And it just felt extra scary because I had all that additional pressure. I don't usually share this, but even the work I was doing was even brought up in court
I was
against
going to ask
me.
that. I was going to ask
Yeah.
if it was brought up in court. Yeah, against you.
Yes.
Wow.
And it just kind of got glossed right over and it didn't become a thing, but
Oh, good.
it was spoken out that I was doing the devil's work
Yeah.
and I was really the only shingle I was hanging at that point was energy healing. So
Right.
it made it feel maybe a little more scary to be public or to be putting myself out there. So that took maybe longer than it would have otherwise.
Yeah, I bet. When did you actually start calling yourself a medium?
Ooh. I think the trance mediumship I became comfortable with just because I was initially doing it for healing and kind of understood what that was. Medium. It's been, I'm so bad with timelines. It's been maybe 10 years now, almost. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you
Before I
had
was like
any push?
saying it publicly.
Yeah, yeah. Have you had any pushback about calling yourself a medium? I know one of the biggest fears that people have, which we've spoke about, is the fact
Yeah.
of calling yourself a psychic, like not wanting to be that crystal ball reader, not wanting to be seen as doing the devil's work. And you
Yeah.
know, I've heard all of that stuff. So did you have any, aside from it being taken in court, did you have any real pushback against it when you did you notice anything when you came out as a medium?
Not really. It was something I was kind of offering low key to some of the clients I already had that were interested or that would, when I give them feedback from their healing session, they would say, like, do you do readings or can you teach me? Or they'd ask questions and I'd be teaching tools and, spiritual healing tools and intuitive growth tools. So I was already kind of doing it, just not announcing it. So by the time I was putting it out there, I already was starting to do group events, and some of my clients that had been with me a while then were so amazing to like host fundraising events at their homes with mediumship readings and things like that. So while it was a little scary, I think I tiptoed out slowly enough. And then the other thing I did is the people that were closest to me the ones I truly cared about what they had to say or their reaction, I spoke with them first and just said, hey, this is a part of me. This is what it means. And they were all really wonderful and accepting. And truthfully, it made some things from my childhood kind of click in and make sense that I hadn't really connected the dots on yet.
Yeah.
Like I know we've talked about before.
Yeah,
So,
that's amazing. So, since opening up your psychic abilities, stepping into your mediumship abilities, and I know you've been doing it for quite a while, how has life changed? Like, how has accessing these abilities for you and really stepping into what your soul wants you to do, how has life changed?
yeah. What's interesting is I feel like the biggest in the background part of expanding these gifts that people don't always talk about is the personal development. It's not the sexy work, but it
Mhm.
really is the foundation of all of this expansion. So for me, I was that kid in high school in the self-help section of the Barnes and Noble reading all the books. So I've always sort of been on that part of the journey, but as I started to trust and express my gifts more, my personal development really has deepened. And I think one of the biggest growth points for me, just personally, is more intentionally choosing, like, for example, the people that I let in my lives. I no longer have to like fix all the wounded birds and help everyone and overextend myself in ways that doesn't feel good to me. I have more permission there, I think, to kind of stand autonomously on my own. I can help, but I have boundaries in a different way. So I think really that has been the biggest point of growth for me, besides just getting to be in the energy of the spirit world and the unseen world all the time, which I also really love.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think it's super important for mediums, psychics, healers, energy workers to do their inner work because
Yeah.
what I have seen as psychics, energy workers, healers, we can hold an energy of like servitude, of having to serve everybody or fix everybody. And it tends to drain people. It tends
Yeah.
to drain them. Especially as, and you might see this differently. I'm curious how you see this. One of the things that I hear a lot and I work with a lot of people on is as mediums, they're working with departed loved ones and they're helping with people move through grief on this side, and it can be very heavy. What has your experience been with that, with really supporting, or have you had to really support people who might hold a lot of grief and really be leaning into you to help them to navigate this grief and to change that? How have you been able to navigate that energy?
That's a great question. I think there is a heaviness to the energy of grief, but I think it's such an important emotion for people to be delving into in their own way and at their own pace. Because as we know, our human nature is to think, oh, there's this time period of grieving, and then I will be done, and then I will release this grief. And it doesn't work that way. It's really, I've learned about holding the grief and holding the rest of our lives and the things we have to do and just learning to manage both at the same time. It was actually a parents grief group that taught me that the way they express it is that it's like standing in the ocean at like a knee deep, depth, and the waves keep coming And some waves are big and knock you over, and other waves you can still stand. So now that I understand it like that, I really am able to support grief in a different way, because I know that to the depth that we have loved is to the depth that we will grieve. So once you understand the balance of the spectrum, I think it makes it not so heavy to hold. And I also know that when someone's sharing their grief with me, one, I have the energetic tools that I don't have to take it on and match that energy and become their grief, right? We don't help someone out of quicksand by getting into the quicksand with them. But the other thing is I realize that the pain that they're experiencing is an expression of how deep that they can love. And it's often the thing I can do for them is often clear out or help them get clarity on some of those fears surrounding the grief or connected into the grief. Like we were talking about, where's my loved one? Are they okay? Like all of those pieces. Did they suffer? Are they suffering now? Are they in the bad place? All the things. So
Yeah.
I think my role in grief is to help with learning and education and mediumship if it's necessary, so that I can create a little more space for them to process their grief a little deeper. So in that way, I don't mind getting my hands messy in the grief
Yeah.
of it all.
And I love that it's not just about like the evidential mediumship is so important,
Yeah.
but it's also about that education and supporting them and helping them to process and helping them to have the tools that they need, which I think is absolutely crucial. I think some mediums miss that. I think they miss that aspect of it. Yeah, I love it.
So too. And I think we can become really focused on death and loss. And of course, there's a time period in grief where that just is the journey. But when someone's ready, they can open up to the other side of that coin of no, their life continues on just in a different way. And they live vicariously along with me. So I can't just stop my life because they stopped living. I still have things to do here. And in the most beautiful circumstances, I've seen people with really tragic losses. I mean, like yourself, then be able to, I don't necessarily believe everything happens for a reason. Like, I don't necessarily think someone's kiddo passes away from cancer for a reason, but I do think any tough thing that happens to us, we do have this wonderful, magical humanity to transmute it into something helpful and beautiful and healing for the world. So once someone's able to process their grief enough, they can get that space to then, I mean, I've seen parents doing amazing things as a result of the loss of their kiddo, participating in research for substance abuse or using their kiddo's story to help other people understand in a non-judgmental way. So there are amazing things that can come out of the depths of grief only when someone's processed and ready. We can't rush to that point.
Yeah, I agree with you. After experiencing it myself,
Yeah.
it opens up and unlocks a part of you that you need to witness and need to step into. And it gives you the ability to do something truly amazing. I think because of the depths at which it rocks you, like it affects you. It opens up the depths of who you are. And if you do your healing work, if you process it, it just opens up so many possibilities and opportunities that maybe you weren't even able to see before. So yeah,
I think it's the truth with any type of trauma or tragedy, whether it's a loss of a person or something really tough that we go through ourselves. It sometimes almost right sizes the rest of our quote unquote problems or experiences and can help us understand, oh, okay, if I can get through that, or if I've had this experience, then what does it matter if, you know what I mean, someone takes my parking spot?
yeah,
Really
I agree with you.
changes our
Like
perspective.
the importance of life totally shifts. Like it totally shifts. Yeah, I love that. I love that you walk your clients through that and help them with that. So one of my beliefs in life is that the future absolutely is psychic. And one of my goals and the things that I'm working toward is helping people who are meant to at each level they're meant to is to really step into their psychic gifts and to really step into their soul aligned gifts so they can do things like we just spoke about, change the world, open that depths within inside of themselves. I would love to know, what is something that you maybe have a dream about the future, or something even you maybe want to achieve as a medium or using your special gifts? Is there anything that you're like, yes, I believe in this. This is what I'm working towards, is a greater impact in the world?
So much. But also, one is kind of just the de-stigmatization and education around these gifts are the most natural part of us. They are the senses that we are using before we have language and good hearing and good sight as little babies. So understanding that, oh, this is not some woo-woo, unscientific thing. As we know, the HeartMath Institute has now measured the electromagnetic field that extends from the heart, which is our auric field. So science is finally catching up. So I think that we're right on the forefront. I think you're right. The future is people understanding these gifts. I think AI is going to really help with this, believe it or not, because it's something that only us as humans can access. It's not something that can be accessed by a digital machine. So I really love just the education of understanding what psychic is and what it's not, because I think a lot of people think they don't have these gifts because of the language, because of media, because of, the things that we're kind of programmed to think. The other piece of that I think is so important is really, I think we're all doing it in our own way, trying to share with people that the answers are not outside of us. And we are the ones that truly know our soul's intention, our soul's blueprint is within us at any moment. So even though I could read it on someone, they have all their own information. You don't need to, And we're so conditioned culturally and in our society, particularly as female presenting bodies, that you don't know the right answer, or you have to double check with someone, or, this person's smarter than you or stronger than you. So we're conditioned over our lifetime to not trust that still small voice within us. And I find 98% of the time, the answer that people come to me seeking is what they already know. It is what that still small voice inside of them has been nagging at for some time, that they're like, oh, they just don't like the answer, so to speak. So I think it's some combination of those things, really deeply helping people understand that, no, this is the most natural part of you and you're already doing it. You could do it more, but you're already doing it. And just kind of the education around the stigma, what it is and what it's not.
Yeah. Well, we're both doing it together. I absolutely love this. And I love how so many people I've been meeting inside the psychic community, the energy community, we all have these, common goals of how we want to help the future and help people right now in the present so they can step into a different future for themselves. So I absolutely love it. Can you share with the audience a little bit of where they can connect with you, how they can, you have a podcast, so how they can find out more about you?
Yeah, I do have a free gift for your audience too, which you can find right on the homepage of my website, which is joyfulmedium.com. It's a 3-lesson, it's called Sign Magnet. It's a free sign mini course, because as we're learning to connect with our own loved ones and our own intuition, it's sometimes fun to play with getting signs in the world as extra validation. So it teaches numbers as signs. If anyone sees recurring numbers, 1111, 444, it teaches how to get signs with the universe. And then, of course, signs with your loved ones who've crossed over. So that's totally free. You can get it right on the homepage of my website. I also do a free monthly community healing, which just so happens to be tonight as we're recording this, but it's once every month. I have the podcast, which is Spirit Speakeasy, which you can find wherever you listen to podcasts. And it's also the video versions in the blog section of my website. And my intention with that podcast is really to talk to, I say, the mediums, mystics, and spiritual luminaries of our time. Because to your point, there are so many people who are expressing this work in so many ways. It's like there's a voice for everyone. There's a method for everyone to try and play with. And I think the more that we normalize this, and it's not people, pulling each other aside at the cocktail party saying oh my gosh, I had this dream and this thing happened. And so that is the best way to connect with me, either through Spirit Speakeasy or through the website, joyfulmedium.com. And you can find me on all the socials at Joyful Medium.
Thank you so much. And all of your links are going to be in the show notes down below the YouTube video, all of that. So if you guys are interested in connecting with Joy, thank you so much for coming on. This was so great. Such a great conversation. I feel like I could chat with you about more stuff.
I'm sure.
And I'm sure we will. So thank you so much again. Thank you so much.
It's my honor. Thank you.
Awesome. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Psychic Within. As always, give us a like and a subscribe, and make sure to tune in next week for more exciting adventures with the Psychic Within. Bye, guys.